Hey there everyone. So a really short video today, and I'm not going to scare you too much. It's not that big of a deal if you are a satisfied Arch user. However, I do want to make a little bit of a perspective, right? So the reason why I have switched from Debian to Arch Linux last year is primarily because I'm a kind of a content creator and I appreciate having the latest software because the latest software gives me an opportunity to test it out, talk about it, gain some experience, and basically it all comes down to experience plus talking about it, right? So when a new version of GIMP would be released, I would be able to immediately install it and then talk about it. When the new version of, I don't know, Plasma is released, I can test it out and gain some personal opinion about it, what has changed, what is good, what is bad, in my own opinion, and stuff like that, right? So having the latest software available is pretty much good for my current needs. However, previously, before this video channel has become a thing, I was really a long time stable operating system user, right? So Debian was pretty much perfect for me. And without getting too deeply into Debian and how it used to be and how it is now, generally I am very satisfied with how Debian works. The only problem being the enablement, if that's even a word, to have the latest software, right? And this is something that I currently need. So rolling distribution is pretty good, and I have chosen Arch because it kind of ticks all of the boxes, right? I don't use Arch user repository. I don't think that this is something that I would want to touch. But generally, what Arch as an operating system offers, it is pretty good, right? It doesn't have as many packages as Debian has, but then again, what it does have is usually all of the modern applications and hype applications and what is popular out there, all that pretty stuff. So it generally serves my needs pretty good. However, recently I have started noticing some shortcomings of Arch Linux, and well, while those are not a deal breaker, the thing that I am gaining more and more experience with Arch Linux as the months go by, I started noticing some things that Debian actually does quite a lot better, right? So it all comes down to having a lot more packages, right? And I'm talking about Debian, not Arch. So when I was dealing with the zettabyte file system recently, I wanted to have it on my Arch Linux as well. Because while my Arch Linux computer is not a server, nor would I ever recommend Arch to anyone to use it as a server, I am using it as a desktop and I want to gain some more experience with ZFS by also using it on my primary PC as well and not just on the server, right? However, Arch Linux doesn't have ZFS. I can make it work on my own, but it is more practical if the distribution itself offers you stuff like this out of the box, because while it's not a huge pain in the ass to build stuff on your own, it is pretty much a requirement to be a Linux user. But the fact that Debian has a lot more stuff and the Arch Linux doesn't have as many is, how do I put it? It is something worth considering, right? But it does deal with this shortcoming or these shortcomings with the fact that it does offer the latest packages, right? So when you get the latest packages, you're kind of balanced, right? You something is taken away from you, but you gain something else. So it's a good balance. overall. And then we come to, for example, the fact that recently I have talked about the release of the latest SDL3, which is a huge deal, right? And Arch was definitely the first distribution that has implemented SDL3. But the way they have implemented it is basically they have replaced SDL1 and SDL2, and they now only have SDL3 plus the new SDL2 compatibility. And the problem with this is that SDL2 compatibility is unfinished. And the way I know that it is unfinished is because it doesn't behave the same as actual SDL2. For example, I depend on using Kdenlive as software, and Kdenlive depends on SDL2, and Kdenlive doesn't work with SDL3 compatibility towards SDL2. The package name is called SDL2-compact or compat. So yeah, for the past month, Kdenlive wasn't functional on Arch Linux, and I did report this issue, and I did work with people behind SDL. The guy who is the like main in charge has even exchanged a couple of messages with me, and he was super happy to assist everyone into transitioning to the new SDL. Super awesome guy, by the way. And he's super happy with all of the Arch Linux community who have been reporting all of the newfound problems and bugs and experiences. And he was, Arch Linux. He basically said it like Arch Linux community is very, very eager to get all of the latest and shiny stuff, and they are very happy and ready to provide feedback. So all of this is quite awesome, and especially from the perspective of such developers who need beta testers, right? So while SDL3 is considered a final and stable release, it is SDL 3.2 actually, but it is the first stable 3 point something, right? While it is considered stable, it still needs production beta testing, so to speak, right? Because as you can see, my Kdenlive hasn't been working for a month, and a part of this lies in the fact that Kdenlive does some things a little bit differently than the SDL2 compact would expect. But that's the point, right? SDL2 compact isn't SDL2. So some other rolling distributions have, in the meantime, also adopted SDL3, but they haven't ejected SDL2 from their distribution. So Kdenlive in those distributions still uses the actual SDL2, and on Arch Linux there is no SDL2 anymore. Arch Linux does things in a bleeding edge kind of way. So after a month, my Kdenlive finally works. And the problem now is that my rendering crashes, right? So now I can actually edit my video, and I have sound, which I did not have for the past month. But I can no longer render my videos. They do render, but rendering crashes, and I'm not sure in which part the rendering has crashed, because the file, the output file is generated, but the error message makes me think that there will be some glitches in the video, and now I have to rewatch my entire video to realize where the problems are, and should I render it again? And I did render it again, and it crashed again. So the way that I have dealt with this entire situation, with this entire Arch Linux bleeding edge SDL3/Kdenlive situation, is basically, I rely on having Kdenlive available to me in a functional state every single day. I cannot have a crucial application for my work not working for a month. This is, I wouldn't say unacceptable, but it's simply, it's unusable for me. I have to have it working. And so what can I do? Should I roll back my entire Arch Linux installation to a month before SDL3 was released? Then how do I update the other software that isn't SDL related, right? So the whole thing kind of falls into water on how much was it a mistake to switch to actually Arch Linux. For now, I am still happy with this distribution, but I want to give you a heads up that not everything is perfection, right? Some things can happen here or there, and you can work around this by using Flatpaks, and this is exactly what I did. I have switched to Kdenlive Flatpak since all of this started happening, and Kdenlive Flatpak works perfectly. Has sound, can render. Uh, there is no problems, right? It just works. So until further notice, I'm going to keep, continue using the Flatpak version of Kdenlive. I will check the actual Kdenlive within Arch Linux like once per week to see if it is fixed completely. But generally, I don't. I don't know what to think of the entire scenario, because once I start relying on Flatpaks, and trust me, I do have more Flatpaks running on Arch Linux simply because of some applications are not available on Arch Linux. And once again, I'm not touching user repository. I'm using Arch Linux. And whatever you think about it, it is what it is. So once you get comfortable with using Flatpaks, Flatpak 1, Flatpak 2, Flatpak 3, Flatpak 6, then we are kind of going back to the good old Debian, right? Because Debian with Flatpaks is not that much different from Arch Linux anymore, because Flatpak, pardon me, not Flatpak, I meant FlatHub. FlatHub is a really, really good rolling distribution.